This is my 1966 C10. It's on a 2001 Tahoe frame, and today we are going to retrofit some air conditioning into this truck using Amazon parts. Everything I'm putting on this truck cost under $500 to do this, and the best part is we can do this to any classic car, or any car for that matter, considering I use all universal parts. This is all stuff I bought off of Amazon. So this is an underdash kit with the blower and the switches and controls. I have some vents here. This is a universal condenser. Then we have the compressor bracket, belt, tensioner. Here are some adapters that go on the compressor so I can use some generic lines, which I don't have yet. Waiting for those to come in. So basically we have the in-truck stuff and we have the engine-based stuff. I would like to try to get this mounted inside the cab today. First thing I'm going to do is actually cut this harness here so I can get this mounted easier without all these wires here. So I'll just make a little connector here and that'll make it easier to mount this box. So that step isn't really necessary, but it just makes it easier for me to hold this under there and get all this stuff mounted, because I feel like that's going to be one of the hardest parts, is trying to get this mounted up by myself. So this just gets this wiring out of my way for now, essentially. So I bought these replacement ankle vents on eBay, and they're just really bad quality. They don't seal, they don't stay shut. The driver's side's actually worse, and this is also getting in the way of where I'm going to mount that box. So I'm actually going to go ahead and take these out, and I'm going to cut some aluminum and block these off so that no water or air comes through, because also when I wash the truck some water can leaks out of here. So I'm just going to seal these off completely. Okay. That was fun. I'm going to use some zip ties and some self-tappers here just to get this in the right place, and then I can mount these brackets a little bit better than that. So I just have a zip tied up there right now, but this is about eye level here. And if you go down, we can see it here. So I just need to secure that and then make sure I can get to the fittings on the AC side and the heater side there. Here's what the box looks like through the glove box here. Obviously you won't have all this stuff up here. It's my terminator mounted up here, but we have the brackets here holding it on now, and those are screwed in with rib nuts there. Another bracket here, and then one on the bottom there. So I'm going to cut the zip ties and hopefully it doesn't fall. Alright, looks like it stayed secure. It's pretty firm in there, so next thing I'm going to do is actually take it back out and make sure all the lines on the back are accessible and I have all the right fittings, and then we can put it back in here. So I'm going to switch over to the engine compartment side of things now. I'm going to start by trying to get this compressor bracket and the compressor in. Once I get those two things in, then I move on to this condenser with the fan, see if we can get all that mounted up. That way we can try to see how we're going to run all the lines that we need to run, and also this AC tensioner as well. I'm going to start by trying to get this AC compressor bracket back in. AC bracket is in. I'm going to put the AC tensioner in now. Probably won't be able to see too much, but try to get it in here. There's the tensioner installed. Next up will be the compressor. I'm going to be putting the compressor in next, but I want to put these adapters in first because it's probably easier to do it up here in the bench versus down there in the car. So this does have oil in it already, so I plugged these off until we're ready to connect our lines to it. So I pull this out first. Then we just have to put our O-ring on here and put these adapters in like that. I have a little bit of O-ring lubricant here. The kit came with two different styles of O-rings. This one doesn't seem to work right, so I'm going to try this regular type O-ring here. Now that we got these adapters on here, we can get this compressor back in the truck. All right, I'm going to try and get this AC compressor in from the bottom. I'll do it from the top, but this here is kind of blocking me. If I take this off, then coolant's gonna leak out. So try to do it from the bottom if we can. This won't fit from down here. Plan 2 is to take this little bypass off. I jacked up the left side of the truck, so hopefully it's leaning that way enough that not too much will come out of here. I have a drip pan under it also. Should probably get some plugs for it too. Oh boy, this is a lot more coming out than I was thinking. That could have been worse. It wasn't too bad. Now we hope that I can fit the compressor in that gap. Doesn't look like I can. This is not gonna fit in there either. I think I have to take these adapters off and go in from the bottom. Okay, I'll try one more time from the bottom without the adapter on the compressor. Oh, don't tell me I had to put this bolt in first. Don't tell me that, man. Yo, that is so dumb. Oh, boy. That is so dumb. You have to put this bolt into the compressor housing first. It'd probably be fine with 3 bolts, but my OCD just doesn't allow that. Well, that was a 30-minute timer, so it's about how long it took me to put that in. Looks like I got plenty of room to put these back on too, so should be fine. Okay, compressor is in. I'm gonna put these adapters back on the AC compressor. Okay, adapters are back on. I'm gonna try to get this bypass back on for the time being, in case I need to move the truck or something. See if we can do this as good as we took it off. I'm gonna say that was worse. What do y'all think? Was that good? 1 to 10. AC compressor is in with the adapters, got the bypass back on. Next, I think I'm going to move on to doing the condenser on the front. Next up, I want to mount this condenser onto the front of the truck here. So I'm hoping I can just take off this, and I can slip the condenser down here without having to take off the grill or the front end or anything. So we're just going to go ahead and start by taking off this stuff here. Need to take off this little cross brace here too. Okay, now I'm gonna see if I can fit that down in there. It'll fit like this. I'm just trying to think how I can mount it on here. Think about that tomorrow. So to get this condenser on the front here, I need to at least take off the grill and maybe the whole front end piece here so I can really get in there, mount up that condenser and run all the lines. So I don't feel like doing that today, so I'm gonna switch back and to do some more interior stuff. So there's gonna be 6 vents total. There's gonna be 1 over there, 2, 3, 4, then the 2 up here for the defrost. So I need to drill these 4 holes. And then I also want to put the controls right here, which means I have to move this horn button. I think I'll put it right here where the old choke cable used to be. So I think I'm going to start by taking this panel off, moving that horn button, getting the controls mounted here, and I have to run an extension wire from here over to the controls on the unit down there. Bring this over to the table, cut it up, try to get this mounted here along with one of the vents, and then we'll move the horn button over after that. Just gonna take off this horn button first. Okay, so I'm trying to get both of those switches and a vent in here. Should fit pretty easily. I think I'm gonna drill the hole for this vent first. I marked a hole for the pilot hole. I'm gonna drill that, and then I'm going to use this hole saw to get a big hole in there, and then put the vent in. Okay, got a pilot hole. Let's see how we can do this. Spray a little bit of oil on here. Damn, I knew I was going to do that. That's what I did not want to happen. Okay, caught my arm a little bit, but not too deep, thankfully, because it did go right over a vein. Just don't know if I can put it in this vise without bending up the metal too much. Yeah, it's going to bend it like that. Yeah. Okay, sorry that was so painful to watch, but it is done. The other ones will be drilling into the car, so it'll probably be a little bit easier. Okay, seems to fit in there pretty nicely. This should just screw on the back here. Now it's got to put those top 2 things in here. Got plenty of room for those. Let me try to go ahead and get that done next. Can pull that knob off, and then I can take that little lock nut off, drill a hole, and be able to put that right there. Just trying to see how I can put both of these on here and cover up that hole. Guess we'll just have to make them touch right there in the middle. Okay, I'm just gonna try to line these up, kind of center them here. I think I'm going to do this side first. Just want to make sure that I'm definitely going to be covering up that hole there. I need to put this one over there because this has the wires, so I can line this up better. Okay, that's pretty good right there. Where is the other piece of plastic? There it is. Okay, so neither of my dots are really in the right spot, if you can see that. Try to get this right in the middle. It's not perfectly lined up. I might try to drill that hole out a little bit more so I can adjust that a little bit, but that's kind of what we're looking at right now. So here's the finished product. Pretty good. It's not perfect. A little bit smaller gap on this side than that gap, but it's good enough. There's the back side. I just cleaned up those wires a little bit. I will need to make an extension that goes from here over to the box because this is going to be by the driver's side. Another one is way over there on the passenger side. So I'm just going to go ahead and make an extension for that. Put a different fitting on here. This goes to the compressor. That'll be pretty much it for this portion. There's our little extension harness. I got all the pilot holes drilled. Now I'm going to drill the big holes for the vents. I also moved the horn button down here. Over here is just too awkward to get to. And that's it. See what this will look like here. Something like like that. Okay, that looks pretty good. I would like to plug this in and just make sure that these operate that correctly. And I might do a quick vacuum in here, then I think I'll be done for today. Alright, this is the first test of it wired up. So this should be level 1 air. 2, 3. This will be to turn on the compressor, which obviously isn't going to do anything right now. So as of right now, we have our controls finished. We have the box mounted. We have these here. We still have to run the ducts from here to the box. And then we just have to run AC and heater line. Oh, it's raining. Okay. I thought something was leaking for a second. Then we just have to run the AC and heater lines from the box to the engine bay up there. So we still have a lot of work to do, but for the most part, the interior portion is done besides drilling holes and getting those lines through there. And then obviously cleaning up wire and covering up the silver with some black carpet down there. It's getting really close though. Excited to have air in this. I'll be able to drive it pretty much every day. It's really the only thing stopping me from driving it all the time is no air conditioning. So that's pretty exciting. Just gonna vacuum it out and I'll be done for now. This DeWalt vacuum is so quiet. It's time to get this condenser installed and stop procrastinating. I've done most of the interior stuff, so now I gotta move on to this. Just gotta mount this fan to the condenser using these little zip tie things that it comes with. Got that mounted now. The last thing I'm going to do is change this connector here to the kind that I like that locks in. It is now ready to go onto the truck. I need to take off at least the grill so I can get to that area there so I can install a condenser. I might have to take off the front end. I'm really hoping I don't have to because that's a lot of extra bolts. So I'm gonna start by just taking off the grill here. See if that's enough room. Alright, I don't think I'm going to have to take off the whole front end, so that's good. Just trying to see where I can put that and how I'm going to mount it up. I think this is where it's going to have to live. I'm going to secure it down in this corner, and that corner up there, and again down here, so I have 3 mounting spots. I think that'll be good enough. I can't put it any higher because it interferes with the hood latch here. I want it as far right as it can go so I can access these ports here easily, and these are going to come over and then go through here. One's going to go to the compressor, and then the other one's going to go to a dryer that I'm going to mount over here, and then into there to into the box. So my idea to make mounts for this is just use this, 2 holes of it like that. This is a riv nut. Looks like that gets riveted in with this tool here. Looks like that on the bottom side. On this side I can't really do that because I can't drill into here because it overlaps here. So I guess I'm gonna make some 90-degree angles that come off on this side. So I got the riv nut in on this side just fine, but on the other side this gap is way smaller. See, this gap here is way smaller for some reason, so this normal size riv nut doesn't fit because it's hitting the back there. So I shaved one down here. So I grinded that down, and now that will fit flush in there. So just need to secure that one, then we can continue making these brackets. So I got those 3 mounting points secured now. We have to bend 90s, something like that, and then bend it this way. Hopefully that works. One of these definitely came out better than the other one. Here's one of the 3 brackets I made. There's the other 2. Just clean up some of these edges with a grinder. We'll see if my OCD allows me to leave them unpainted, or guessing they're probably going to get a coat of paint on them as well. And then we should be able to mount the condenser into the truck. Yeah, I'm gonna go paint them. The next thing I need to do is figure out how to get the lines from this box through the firewall down here. My original idea was to use something like this here on the firewall and then connect these lines to it on this side and then the lines to it on the opposite side. But the problem is with this box, these lines are so close to the firewall here. This is one here, back here, then this is another one. There's just not enough room to make like a loop to go to there. And then also just gonna have more connections and more places to leak. So I think my best bet is to just drill some holes in the firewall, maybe here and there, and then I can probably loop the heater hoses from that side around to go through in this general area as well. So we're just basically gonna be going through the firewall here using grommets instead of this, I don't know what we call this transfer piece here. So I'm gonna take out this box for now, and then I'm going to get rid of this shield, this heat shield stuff in the areas where I need to drill, figure out where those lines are going to come out, because this is the inner fender here, and I think that they might actually come out under that inner fender, and then I can bring them out somewhere over here, right there for the heater, and some around here to connect the AC lines. It's kind of a good thing and a bad thing. The good part is that those lines are going to be hidden, so it's going to look nice. The bad part is those lines are going to be in this inner fender well here, so I'm going to have to cover them up a little bit so they don't get hit with any dirt or debris. So that's where we're going to go to next. I made a couple marks down here about where we might have to drill some holes, so I'm just going to go ahead and take this box out now. Here's my custom fabricated brackets to hold on the condenser. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the condenser on, and hopefully we can get one of those AC lines done. Okay, got the condenser mounted up here, here, and here as well, using those riv nuts. Next thing I need to do is run this line here, I guess over here, through this into the compressor down there, and then I believe that this bottom line will come out through here as well, and then to a dryer, and then up to the box there. Okay, I do believe that this one here to the top of the condenser should go straight to the compressor. So I have it going through this hole up here that's already there. It comes out way up here, and then we need to bring it way down to there. But there's already a hole down there. If it could come out and go straight down to the compressor there, that'd be a lot better. So that hole right there. So if I can maybe make that hole bigger, make this go through there, might be an option. So right now I'm just trying to figure out how to run all these lines to the AC compressor, to the dryer, to the box, all that stuff. I did have to flip this the other way. This should be at the bottom, that should be at the top. And this one from the top basically just goes straight through here. I won't really be able to get that high pressure side on. I'm gonna have to maybe notch out a little bit of this inner fender here. Probably same with this one. Gotta notch both of these here. I'm gonna have to drill holes here to have these heater lines go through. So right now I'm really just trying to figure out how to run all these lines. So it's really not that much to see. I'm just trying to run everything. Going to put the dryer here, connect this to the dryer, and then from here, it'll go to the inlet of the evaporator inside the cabin, and then it'll come back out of the evaporator to the low pressure side of the compressor. I'll show all of that in more detail after I get everything a little bit more situated here. So here's where we are right now. We have this line coming out the bottom of the condenser, going through here, going up to the dryer here, and then out of this dryer, it'll just go straight to the evaporator. And then also we have this line here coming out of the compressor. This is the high pressure side. We going straight here into the top of the condenser. So now we really just need to do that line to one side of the evaporator, this line to the other side of the evaporator, and then I'm pretty much done with the AC lines, and then we just need to do the heater lines. I'm gonna take this wheel off so I can get better access to run the lines up under this inner fender here. I'm waiting on a couple things to come in to finish running all the lines and start working on the wiring here a little bit. Gonna wire in, this is a binary switch, and then I'm going to wire in a relay for the fan here. I'll go over all the wiring once I'm done with it. I'm just gonna go ahead and finish it up real quick. I think I'll put the relay right about there. So I still need to clean up this wiring a little bit, but basically that's a 12-volt switch coming on when I turn the compressor on from the switches in the dash. So I have 12 volts coming into the binary switch. When the pressure is above the minimum, it'll kick on the compressor, and then it'll also activate this relay to turn on the fan on the condenser down here. So that's pretty much all the wiring there is really. I just need to do a constant 12 volt to the relay, ground that, and then the 12-volt switch coming off of here. So yeah, I just need to clean up all that. But I'm going to move on to drilling some holes into the firewall to get the heater hoses through the firewall, and also the 2 AC lines that we need. I am drilling the holes for the heater lines right now. The next thing I need to do is clearance this inner fender a little bit so I can get these lines attached, get this kind of away from the header there. So I'm going to cut this square out here, not this stuff here, just this square here, and see if that leaves enough room that I can get to these ports here and also get this line on there. I now have all the AC lines mocked up. Start here at the compressor. This will be the high side coming off here. Goes through this hole here to the top of the condenser. This coming out of the condenser. Back through this hole here, which comes up to the dryer. Comes out of the dryer through here, which comes out through here. This will eventually be secured up, and it goes through the firewall there into the evaporator, and it comes out of the evaporator right there on the low pressure side and comes back to the compressor over there. So these lines I'll have to tuck up, and I'll wrap them up and secure them. Make sure they don't get hot and that they don't get damaged by anything. Here's what it looks like under here. So that's a line coming from the dryer, and then it's hard to see, but right above that is the one going out back to the compressor. And I still need to run the 2 lines for the heater. All the lines will be done, so right now I just need to take off all the AC lines and crimp them. I've marked all the orientation with a marker because you can't spin these once they're crimped. So I just have to make sure that I clock all these correctly and crimp them. I'll probably have to crimp this one where it is. Some of these I'll have to crimp where they are because I won't be able to get them out through the holes that I made. Okay, so I'm gonna crimp my first AC line for real. I did a test one, came out looking pretty good. So this is the line that comes off of the evaporator here. Just gonna line up my marks. Make sure we get this nicely in our tool here. Okay. Looks good to me. Hopefully that holds. This line fits through the opening just fine, so I can crimp the other side out here as well. That's one line done. This is the high pressure line going from the compressor to the top of the condenser. So the way this one is set up, I'm going to have to crimp this end of it after I put it through this hole, or I won't be able to get to it. So I'm going to go ahead and slide this through. Okay, got plenty of room over here to crimp. Now doing it this way is obviously not the best, because if you have to take something off, or if I have to redo one of these connections, I'd have to basically cut this end off and re-crimp it. When you're doing custom stuff like this, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Alright, this one, I have to crimp both sides on the car. Alright, now I just gotta do the opposite side. This one might be a little bit harder to get to. Okay, I'm going to put in the evaporator for the last time, I think. I do have the O-ring on here, so hopefully this is the one and only time I have to do this. These are the last two AC lines I need to connect. I'm actually swapping out this dryer. This was a spare one I had. It's a good idea to do this last because these are under pressure and you don't want them to collect moisture from the atmosphere. So taking these connections off, the last thing you do is probably a smart thing. Okay, so when I open this, there's probably going to be pressure releasing, and then I'm going to tighten these two on, put the last connection here, which is that sensor, and then we're going to vacuum out the system. This one wasn't under pressure like the other one was. Oh, just kidding. Okay, I think that's every AC line hooked up. I have the vacuum going right now. It's at negative 30 psi. Gonna let that run for like 10 or 15 minutes and then shut it off and see if it holds that pressure. If it does hold the pressure, then there's no leaks. I can vacuum out a little bit longer to get all the moisture out, and then I can put the R134 in. It's been 30 minutes or so with the vacuum pump off, and it's still at negative 30, so I'm going to assume that there's no leaks. I'm gonna run the pump a little bit longer to get any excess moisture out, and then we will start filling it with R134. All right, I'm now going to start the truck, and we are going to add the refrigerant, hopefully get some cold air. Okay, I didn't film any of it, but I got these heater lines connected here. So they go through here, through the inner fender, and they come down, go straight up there into the evaporator. I also wrapped these AC hoses and secured them as well. That's the low pressure. Here's the high pressure. It's tucked up there pretty high, so I don't think we'll have any interference. Here's what it looks like a little bit further away. Got plenty of room there for the tire and everything. I'm going to start reassembling the front end, starting with these two guards here and the hood latch. I forgot to hit record, but the grill is back on. Front end is back on. This tire back on now. We have plenty of room, like a foot of room before it hits anything back there, so we're good. So the last thing I need to do is run these ducts from the box here over to all these vents. So I did that first one there already. That one's going all the way over here to this driver's side vent. So that one's done. Just have to do the other 5, 2 up there, got 2 here, and 1 there. This is kind of hard to do, so I'm just going to set the camera up and try to get these other 5 done. cut this one too short. I needed by another section anyway to do the other 2 vents here. Okay, last thing I want to do today is cover up some of this foil stuff with this stick-on black carpet. Cover up some of these wires a little bit with that. I think that'll look a lot better than what we got going on here. A little bit better, keep piecing it in there little by little. These are the original coils, and I have a little bit of a misfire at idle, so I'm going to go ahead and replace all of those. I'm going to replace the spark plugs at the same time. These aren't that old, but I want to just see what they look like, and I got some new ones anyway. And then these spark plug wires, I got some that have a ceramic angled boot on the bottom because this is getting burnt here, if you can see that. So I'm going to go ahead and replace all of the, basically all the wires, coils, and plugs. Looks pretty good. I've never looked in these cylinders, so I kind of want to see what they look like. Looks good. There's still cross-hatching on the cylinders here. The edge of the piston looks a little bit kind of beat up, I guess. Say overall, that's pretty good for having over 400,000 miles. I mean, that plug looks pretty perfect. I thought they were going to be kind of rich or something, so honestly, I'm not even going to replace these. These have less than a couple thousand miles on them, so I can just hold on to those other plugs till it actually needs to be changed. Plus, I really don't feel like doing all this anyway. Got the new coils going in. Okay, let's see if these fit on here. Okay, I guess we'll see if that holds up. Just gonna start it real quick, make sure there's no major problems, and if there is, then we know it's coming from this side before we do this side. Okay, seems all good there. Do the other side. So it's been a couple days since I've done the AC install, and I figured out that the air blows cold only in the beginning when I first start the truck, basically before anything gets hot. Now this is kind of besides the point now, but I did have a leak at these fittings here. Just these were not tight enough, so I did have to retighten those down and refill the system with refrigerant. And the only other thing I've changed is I've added the heater hoses. I have two theories. One, this low pressure line is too close to the headers here, creating too much heat, and the system can't cool that enough when it gets to the evaporator once the engine gets hot. Now the second idea I have is that the evaporator is not good enough to cool the air from when it has this hot water coming through it for the heat. The heat works great, but I don't think that the evaporator can cool that air enough once the engine gets hot. I'm going to try to fix both of these theories at the same time. The first thing I'm going to do is take off the headers, wrap them with some header wrap, and then I'm also going to try to create a little bit of a heat shield here, and also try to pull this back a little bit, give it a little bit more space away from these headers here. And then also I have this little valve basically that I connect these heater hoses to, and I can turn off the water going into that evaporator and just let it recirculate in the engine. The downside to that obviously is that if I want heat, I'm going to have to come to the valve and turn it if I want heat. Now luckily I live in Florida and I hardly need the heat. I need the AC more than anything. Shouldn't be as big of an issue as it would be if I lived in a cold climate. So I'm going to try to do both of those things and see if either of those things help my issue here. I need to jack it up again so I can get to the bolts that connect the header to the rest of the exhaust, and also take off this wheel again so I can get to the heater hoses going under there to put that valve in. Won't be able to see much, but I'm just going to loosen the 3 bolts on the bottom of the header right now. Start by taking out these spark plug wires that I just put in. Now I'm just going to loosen up all the header bolts. I do have to take that off as well. Okay, got the header out. Well, I did just swap out the coils and the spark plug wires, and I was going to do the plugs at the same time, but the first one looked really good. They're hard to get to. But now that I'm waiting on something to come in, so I got some free time, and they're super easy to get to right now, might as well just go ahead and swap these out. While I got them out, I'm going to put the bore scope down there and check out all the cylinders, make sure everything's looking good. One's a little bit wet on the threads. These all look just about perfect. One of them has a little bit of oil on the threads, but other than that, they all look pretty perfect. Okay, putting in these new NGKs. I did already gap these. Definitely make sure you gap your plugs, because these ones, some of these were like completely shut from the factory. So, oh, that's right. I wanted to look in with the bore scope at all of these. I already looked in the first one. Is that a crack in the piston? This piston might be cracked. I can't tell if that's a crack or not. If that's cracked, that's kind of crazy that how good it's been running. Definitely has some less than ideal looking cylinder walls here. Looks like that there might be a couple cracked pistons in there. So it looks like maybe they're casting marks, maybe it's cracks in the carbon that's on top. Whether it's cracked or not, so I'm not going to do anything about it right now. The goal for this truck was always to get it running with this engine and then preferably build a 6.0 for it. Gonna wrap this header now. Alright, I did the other side. Didn't come out that great, but it's more for heat. Don't really care too much how it looks, just hopefully it makes the headers a little cooler. I think it helps a little bit if you wet it. I don't think it's completely necessary, but the instructions that came with it didn't mention anything about wetting it, but a lot of the YouTube videos I saw did, so. Here's the driver's side. It's good enough. And then I still have to spray it with this silicone stuff to seal it, apparently. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that next. I'm gonna put this valve in somewhere around here. And basically, when this is this way, the no hot water will get to the heater. It'll just recirculate in the engine. And when I open it up, it'll allow the heater to get hot water. So this is kind of like a test feature here to see if we get colder AC with no hot water going through the evaporator. I kind of blocked off these lines here. So I'm gonna cut this here and see if we can get this in there pretty easily and if it fixes our problem. Try to not make a huge mess, which is pretty much impossible for me with coolant. Put it probably about here. Guess it's not clamping that very good. Now I just kind of need to get it secured up like this out of the way. So here's what it looks like under the wheel well here. So when it's closed, like I said, it's just going to recirculate, and I can actually reach that when the truck's on the ground and the tire's on. So it's not as big of a deal as it seems, but it's still pretty annoying. Now I've also been doing some more research, and it turns out that these compressors, these UAC compressors, are kind of junk. So that could also be part of the issue. If I replace this compressor a third time, because I already had to replace this one once, maybe I obviously use a different brand next time. That might also be part of our problem. We'll try this first before I have to waste more refrigerant and all that kind of stuff. I also moved this low pressure line a lot more to the left, and I put this heat shielding over that. So all these things can't hurt. It's got to help some. So now we'll be keeping less heat off of here from moving that over, wrapping in the heat shield, wrapping the headers, and having no hot water go into the evaporator. So really, if this doesn't work, it has to come down to either that's a bad evaporator or it's a bad compressor. So if we're digging into this again after this, probably we'll replace both of those things, the evaporator with a brand new one and the compressor, but we'll see how this works first. Here's what the headers look like after the paint. So next step is to go ahead and get these put back on. All right, I'm gonna put in the header back in now that is wrapped up. Got the headers back on, all the spark plug wires back on. We definitely have more of a gap in between this AC line and the header, and everything's wrapped and protected, so I think that's gonna be pretty good for that. Got the driver's side back on as well. Just need to get the styre back on now. I'm gonna start it up and see if our AC is a little bit colder now. Right now we have 53-degree air coming out of there. Pretty happy about that. We got 46-degree air coming out of here, so that is great. Just wanted to show where that valve is when the truck's on the ground here. So you can see it back there. I can reach in here and turn that if I need to, so I don't need to jack up the truck or anything like that. So that's one good thing about it. Those kind of suck that we need that. I don't necessarily know if that was the issue or if the issue was that line too close, but I'll experiment with some of this stuff and see if we can do away with that at some point. Well, I'm glad the AC is done on the truck. I could do a couple more things, but I'm kind of over it for the time being. So I'm just going to set my little golf sim up here and hit a couple golf balls and call it a day. You guys can roast my golf swing in the comments if you so desire.